Hello everybody, let's talk about die sets for a moment. Die sets, everybody wants to know, well, what die set did you use? Well, is that really important to them versus how I threw it? Or how someone else threw it? Everybody gets hung up on trying to use this, or wanting to know what the most magic die set is. If you take a set of dice, first die set everybody learns is a hard-way set. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-4 or a 3-5. All you do if you want to change anything is you change the direction that the 6. The 6 is always one side or the other on a hard way. What I see a lot, let me move this camera down just a little bit so I don't have to stretch so far. You'll see the most common, they saw it somewhere, they saw somebody having success with it, they saw it on YouTube, they saw it somewhere, they'll throw a 3V. Some people have a great amount of fantastic results with a 3V, and other people just have awful practice. And the reason is, if you're not careful, one die off axis, you'll get a 6 and a 1 or a 3. You'll double pitch one. I get more short rolls if I throw a 3V. To me, and this one kicks up, this one kicks forward. Got one dice off axis. I end up with a lot of those 1-6s, 6-1s, and a lot of 3-4s. Got 1-3 up top. You got a double pitch 4. It's a lot of problems. A lot of people don't, if they'll just stop, if they're hung up on throwing the 3V and they're getting, let's just say they're getting that one, and then they come back and they get it again. If they'll take and do this, they'll have a 2 and a 1, or a 2 and a 2. So sometimes it's a matter of changing the dice, one to the other. I still have a lot of issues, and I've tried a lot of different dice sets. There for a while, I was doing fairly good with the yo on top, with a 3V, with the V pointing down. I was getting some 6s and 8s, pretty regular with that. But as my dice toss changed, my results began to change. So let's go to look at the 2V. It's one of my favorites, not because it's the greatest dice set ever, but because I throw a lot of good numbers with it, and tend to have longer rolls with it. A couple of traps that I have to look for. And it's the single pitch or double pitch 7. One stays on axis, one rotates twice, and I'm out. But that's the only 7 in this dice set. If you stay on axis. What happens if you don't? Well, if it flips that way, I've got an 8. If it flips that way, I've got a 3. I throw a lot of 3s with this set. I love it on a crapless table. If this one goes up, I've got a 6. This one goes up, I've got a 5. My biggest worry is because I track my tosses and bone tracker is that 3 over here on this side and that 4. If I start seeing that, then I've got to make an adjustment. I'm willing to risk the double pitch 2s and the 5s. It's the only one on there. What others are similar? Well, we could go to 4-1. See if I'm correct here. 5-6. That puts us on the sides, front and back. It's kind of a broken wing or a broken V, if you will. Sometimes I'll throw this, but I've got to have noticed I'm not hitting those 6 1s. So if I go up just 1, I've got a 7. So I don't like it that much. If you're new to the game, you don't have a practice rig, and you're going to let your dice hit out here somewhere, I'd say the best thing for you to do is maybe set them at a hard weight set. Let them hit out in here, and what you're hoping is that you get one die off axis all the time. The longer you can get one die off axis, you won't throw a 7. So if you can throw that. Now if you're hitting hard ways during this, that's even better. That means you're really keeping them not only on axis, but you've got facial control. Facial control, primary hits like that, when you're a novice, and I do not consider myself an overly expert, but if you're new to it, you're walking up to a table, trying to figure out what you're going to throw without looking, at least you at least want to make it look like you know what you're doing. I would say this, but if you never throw a hard way, or if your hard ways are once every 10 to 12 throws, if you would set your dice to the all 7s in that instance, you will probably increase your total toss count by having one dice off axis or single pitch. That's kind of my take on those dice sets. For those of us that practice daily and track our results, I use Heavy's free bone tracker. It's free on the internet at accesspowercraps.com. You load a book of 720 tosses, and then you start another book of 720, and you just keep working and working through those tosses. You log, it'll show you what faces are your primary hits. It'll let you know what your 7s to roll ratio is. It'll even calculate what type of influence you're having on the dice. One of the things that it came up for me once was a 5-3-6-2. That's not a standard dice set, but it recommended that as a possible dice set for me to use. So I brought it to the practice table, and I've taken it to the casino, and I have used it with a pretty good bit of success. Used to throw a lot of nines with that set. A lot of nines. So if you track your tosses with the same dice set, same throw, same landing zone, trying to make the same consistency, it'll actually show a graph of the numbers that you hit the most. Well, that's awful advantageous when you go to a casino to bet. If you don't ever hit the 5, but you hit a lot of 8s and 9s, then you need to be betting the 8s and 9s with that set until that table proves you different. Now, you don't walk up there and put all your bankroll on the 8 and 9. You start out a hand, you start tossing, and then you look and see what kind of results you're getting. If you're getting the results at the casino that you got at your practice table or your practice rig, put an inward smile on and you press up those numbers. That would make sense. That gives you an ability to take some advantage of your skill set to the casino and reduce their advantage. So that's how I practice. I track every roll. I look at my dice sets. I look at every feasible combination inside Bone Tracker. And then I use those on the practice table to verify that those results are accurate with the way my toss is right now. And after that, I take it to the casino because I've practiced the way I want to play, and I'm going to play the way I practiced, and then I'm going to roll to win.